Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As you know, this is the Ellies info session for year 7 with Clara Toro and Mark Russell. Here we also have Maggie, our interim CEO, who will be also talking to us a little bit more about the Ellies. And I also have Hansel on the team. As you know, he is our cinematic arts manager to answer all of your film questions. Happy to see some teachers join because this is a great opportunity, as you will hear from Mark and also other artists for the Creator Award. Um, but I'm gonna pass it on to you, Maggie. Oh, wait a second, Maggie, you're on mute.
I got it. Okay. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for joining us. And all I'm going to do is a brief introduction. I think most of you know about Oolite Arts and that our goal is to support artists and advance the knowledge and practice of contemporary and visual arts. We hope to create opportunities for experimentation, innovation, and encouraging the exchange of ideas. We have what the residencies, exhibitions, public programs, education, and outreach. And this year we also have Live in the Arts, which is a live work studio opportunity. So we're excited because new things are happening and we're creating new events. The Ellies Awards, as you know, they support working artists with grants to realize significance in visual arts in your projects and also a travel stipend for art teachers, which I think is very exciting since I used to work at New World School of the Arts, and that was one of the main programs that I thought that really excelled at our school. These awards are open to all artists, full-time K through 12 art teachers who reside in Miami-Dade County. The Creator Award this year is a little different because we're offering from 5,000 to 25,000, and you get to, in the application, choose what amount you want to apply for. The Teacher Travel Grant is up to $5,000. We have the Michael Richards Award, which is the $75,000 given to an artist who is created and recognized today for their body of work and has contributed to the community. And the Social Justice Award, which honors visual artists who have made a commitment to working equality in their lives, artistic practice, but the Michael Richards and the Social Justice Awards are by nomination only. I also want to say that all of our jury panel, except for the Michael Richards Award and the Social Justice Award, are from working professional artists, curators, directors outside of the state of Florida. That way we feel that, you know, not knowing the artist, just really basing the jury process on their work is pretty important. So the Michael Richards Awards, though, it will be nominated by local people in the arts as well as the social justice. So with that, Catalina, I don't know if you want to introduce Clara.
Yes. So with that, I want to introduce Clara Toro. Clara Toro is a photographer who previously won the Creator Award in 2022. And with that, she made a project called 8 Minutes in Wynwood Norte. And then, Clara, if you want to talk a little about yourself and the project and your application and how that went, that would be great.
Hello, good evening. I'm Clara Toro, and I am a documentary photographer. I have a degree from the International Center of Photography in New York, and I think I'm going to tell you a little bit about the process and how I got to the exhibit that I produced thanks to the Ellies. I developed a project which I think is really important before you apply for a grant is to work seriously on a project and then to decide what you want to do with the project. So after a year of working on photographs about the lives of the people in Wynwood Norte, because I wanted to create a registry and archive for a neighborhood that is disappearing due to gentrification. I decided that I didn't want to leave those photos in my computer. I had my degree, I graduated, and I figured that the best way to do it was to apply for a grant and have an exhibit at the park in Wynwood. So I had tried to several grants. I had tried to apply for several grants, and this, I guess, is probably my most important advice or comment. I had a lot of grants that were denied to me, and I guess because of my Spanish being my first language, I always ask people to correct and review and work on my grants, which I think made them very dull and 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 just they lost the spirit. So when I decided to apply to the Ellies, I thought I might have some grammar mistakes, but I will do it from the heart because what I want to do is get the money to do an exhibit at a park in Wynwood where I can share my project with the neighbors that allow me to photograph them. And that's how I did it. I wrote it. One day I said I'm gonna write from the bottom of my heart, and that's how I will apply. And that's how I did it. And I think that worked very much, as opposed to giving it to someone who made it more boring. I guess that's my first piece of advice. And then once I received the grant, one of the things I received was a notebook. And that notebook is not only one of my most treasured possessions now, but it was very helpful because from day one, every phone call I made, every business card I received, every piece of information that I received towards producing my exhibit was in that notebook. And I also understood very clearly that I had 1 year to produce my project. So I knew that I couldn't postpone it because I could encounter problems in the way, and I certainly found a lot. I was very naive. I proposed an exhibit at a park, not knowing that I need permits from the city of Miami, from Art in Public Spaces. And when I spoke to the park manager, he said to me, of course, but this is what you need. And all those permits took over 8 months. So I ended up producing the project within the budget. I received $6,000. I was very mindful of the money that I received. I also kept every single receipt, which was very helpful because every 6 months I had to send a report, a financial report, and having every receipt attached to that notebook was very helpful. And because I started right away when I got the grant, I was able to have the exhibit at the park the way I wanted it within the budget. I had the exhibit from December to February for 3 months at a park in Wynwood. It was a really beautiful experience, and it was the way I wanted it to be. So I'm beyond grateful because without that money, but also without the support of Oolites to go to Art in Public Places and to the city of Miami to say, please allow me to do it because someone like Oolites is vouching for me. That was vital. I couldn't have gone and say, I'm Clara Toro and I want to do an exhibit. I'm a resident at the Bakehouse, and just having the support of first Oolites and then the Bakehouse helped tremendously. So that's, I guess, in a nutshell, how the process was. These are some photos of the exhibit, and I guess this is one of my favorite. It is my favorite photo because there is a park in Wynwood called Roberto Clemente Park, and I did portraits of the elderly who have lived in that neighborhood for over 50 years, mostly elderly. I also photograph other families, but the day I was installing on a Sunday evening, she came running from her house with her walker. You can see it on the corner, and she said, "You are showing my photograph. Let me call my family." And she invited her family, and they all came. And I said to her, "Can I take your photo?" And she said, "Yes, I'm going to pose the way I posed when you did my portrait." And I just realized how powerful that was because it was a small gesture, but for them, it was important to recognize them and for them to see that they told me, even though we are in the center of a very cultural city, we have never been recognized as a community. So I guess that's the significance of that photo. But I was very grateful to be able to honor and celebrate the residents of that community. And then we had an opening. We opened on the week of Art Basel, so we knew that it was going to be a very busy week. So we decided to do the formal opening in January. And we invited all the members of the community to attend. Well, that's also Rosie Gordon Wallace, who's another big mentor, someone I love dearly. And the only restaurant in Wynwood called El Pajarete decided that they were going to donate the food. So we had a big party at the park. We had a food truck. We had music. We danced. We had a very nice celebration with the community to do the opening of the exhibit. So yeah, those are all the great things that happened because of that grant. So needless to say, I'm very grateful that I had that opportunity.
Thank you, Clara, for sharing. Just want to say one quick thing before Mark does his little presentation. As Hansel mentioned on the chat, there is like a triangle, a square, and a circle at the bottom of your right hand in the screen. If you click on activities and then click on the Q&A, you can submit all your questions there. And then at the end, we'll be answering all the questions. And now I want to introduce Mark Russell. Mark is a visual artist, tattoo artist, teacher, who won the Teacher Travel Grant in 2022 and went to Paris. So with that being said, Mark, please take it away.
Hi guys. First and foremost, everybody who took the time out to be here tonight, I want to say you are putting yourself in a position to help grow and pursue your individual career. So kudos to you. Like it was stated, I'm an educator. I teach at Jose de Diego Middle School here in Wynwood. Before teaching here at Jose de Diego Middle School, I studied at Miami International University of Art and Design. And then once I finished, I had two tracks, whether I go be a designer or give my hand at giving back to the youth who come from communities like myself. So I chose to go into education. I have to say, my first couple of years as a teacher, I was very focused on that. But as I kind of got my legs under me as a teacher, I wanted to really begin to get back into my professional career as an artist, not to lose sight of what, my North Star has always been in my life. And I started out by doing summer residency. And then I saw the opportunity. Well, no, I'll be honest. I am not being honest. Who originally opened me up to the Ellies Teachers Travel Grant was my mentor. Her name was Rebecca Quiroga. She is an amazing artist, and she was an amazing educator here at Jose de Diego when I got here. And she won the year before, I want to say, and she really encouraged me to go after it. So I applied, and in applying, I submitted at 11:59 a day of submissions, just off of wanting to make sure my words were the right words. But I think the thing that did it for me, if I had to say, I think it's kind of like what Miss Clara said. I tried to put together all of these special, perfect words, but in the end, I was like, speak from the heart. Being a kid from Liberty City who never had an opportunity to really see the world for real, I think that it's an integral and important thing as an educator to be able to see the world, and just using those words and speaking to, by me having that opportunity, bringing it back and open my students up and showing them that somebody who looks like them, who's come from a similar background to them, can have an opportunity to see the world. I felt like they too could do the same thing. So, And then honestly speaking, my students, after coming back and showing them photos from my trip, like they all now have this opening and this inkling of a desire to want to see more of the world and things like that. And I honestly think using my genuine words, truthfully, I think would be the best way to put it. And I think those were the words that I used to get this opportunity. So for my project I chose, I originally wanted to kind of tour around Europe and kind of take in the rich culture of Europe and visit a lot of the different areas that were known for, art. And it's a very historic place. My time there was extremely amazing. I spent about 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks. I decided instead of just bouncing around, I thought it was a really good idea to just plant myself in the city and really take in the culture. So I decided to plant myself in Paris, and in planting myself in Paris, I was able to visit. I was actually fortunate enough to stay across the street from the University of Paris. My hotel was across the street from the University of Paris, and then everything was in walking distance. I literally walked to the Louvre. Everywhere I walked. In my time in the Louvre, I probably spent an entire day there. I got there when they opened. I had breakfast. I spent the whole day there. Lunchtime, I ate at the Louvre. I literally almost closed the place, but that experience, seeing just these really old art pieces that I've always saw in textbooks and on, the internet, being able to see these pieces and these works in person just really put me at awe. And I was really enamored with the sculpting. And I'm in the process now of trying to, it's a project that I'm getting ready to work on with my students, where we work to create portraits, but my goal is to kind of create them in a sculpt-esque vantage point, if that makes sense. So in the sense of taking them and them kind of creating their own history here in South Florida, them creating themselves or people that they care about as statues. So that's kind of taking away what I absorbed while I was there in Paris. That was one of the biggest things that I took away. And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I encourage every teacher who's on, if you know a teacher who isn't on, this is an amazing opportunity. Pitch it, let people know about it, because that experience for me personally, truthfully speaking, was life-changing. And so, yeah, I think that was my project. I mean, just to kind of speak on some of the technical things like Ms. Clouda kind of mentioned earlier, I kind of, while I was on my trip and I was getting everything situated, I tried to do a diligent job of keeping all my receipts, because at the end we had to submit the finance report for everything. So holding on to my receipts, and well, I personally tried to do everything online. That way I had a email receipt for everything, but it worked really well for me.
Thank you so much, Mark, for sharing. I know we're receiving some questions already, but I want to officially open this up to the questions. I do encourage you to take advantage of this Q&A, because we won't be having office hours this time, but don't freak out. We have an email completely dedicated to the Ellies, so if you can't think of any questions right now, or you're working on your application later, feel free to email us. I'll show you, it's ellies@oolitearts.org if any other questions arise. But we're gonna go ahead and start answering all the questions. Dalia D says, what advice would you give to new applicants, and what is something you wish you knew at the start when you began your application? I think this either Clara or Mark can answer.
I can speak to it first. I think, genuinely speaking, I've like Miss Clara, I've applied to different grants and things like that. I think the thing that really did it for me was like I know a lot of times when as artists and as creators, when we want to have opportunities to do things, we try to double check and triple check and make sure we say the right thing. I think the biggest key is genuinely speaking from the heart and really talking about something and a project that you're passionate about. I think if you speak into a project that you're passionate about, you don't have to try to figure out the words. That fire and that desire for what it is that you want to bring to life, whether that's a creator's project or that trip to enhance your abilities as an art educator. I think genuinely speaking from the heart, I would say is the key.
Thank you. Clara, what is your take on this? Clara?
I'm sorry. I think that another quick piece of advice that I will give is just don't write trying to please someone. Just write it thinking about what it is that you strongly feel that you are good at and that you want to show and you want to do. Because sometimes when we try to please people and write for others, it then the I guess the desire does not come across. So I think that that is something that I will keep in mind. I will think of a project that I really want to do. I will structure it in a way that makes sense and say, this is what I want to do. And this is how I want to do it. And I think that should be the most important part.
Thank you. Ruth, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your last name, Burari, says, does the project for the creator grant have to take place in Miami? Can we apply for a project to take place overseas? Hansel, what do you think about that question?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think all the sorry, I'm trying to turn on my camera. Here I am. Yeah. I think all the projects related to Oolite, all the projects has to be to happen in Miami and to be related also to Miami. There is a thematic question in the application where applicants should include what's the connection of the project to Miami. So I think all the applicants should demonstrate that the project has a connection to Miami to give back to the community on some level.
Thank you. Next question by Josie. Is the line item budget that is required for the Ellies application an estimated budget? Can you include an artist fee / honorarium? Are receipts required for reporting the award? Can you share samples of line item budgets? Thank you.
I would say all budgets are estimated until the project is completed because we really don't know. But I think Oolite this year really needs to understand that the applicants are sure how they want to spend their money. So yes, it could be an estimate, but as much close as possible. Our artist honorariums are part of a budget, so yes, the answer is yes. Are receipts required for reporting on the award? There's actually moments during your period of working where you will have to submit like a report on how that budget or your project has evolved. So you will have to include some kind of proof that the project has been developed. You could, of course, submit receipts if you want to. Can you share samples of line item budgets? There's different samples. I will be sending to all the people on this call if you want, like a template for an line item budget if you to see if you can use it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that would be really helpful because we have been receiving a lot of budget questions. I know that it's always not complicated, but definitely an item to talk about. Somebody asked, wait 1 second, I lost my, okay,
I
here.
want to jump in a second. The reason for the line item budget is that a lot of artists told us that once they applied for the grant, they really didn't have enough money to complete it. So by having a line budget, if you need, I always think that art is a little bit more than what you really actually think it's going to cost you. So include that, for unknowns. But that way, if you have a closer idea of what this is going to cost you, we can give you the money up to $25,000 to help you cover to be able to complete the whole project.
Thank you, Maggie.
I want to go to another question, Catalina, that I'm reading. It's if we proposed an Ellies project last year, but the Ellies were canceled, can we submit that project this year? Yes, absolutely yes. Last year application, this year applications that were canceled are not part of the Ellies anymore. Like that Ellies was completely canceled. So everybody who already applied to the 2024 Ellies, they should resubmit it again, their projects. The last year Ellies will not be considered.
Yeah, and then going back, since we skipped one, somebody asked, can I still apply if I recently moved to Broward County? This is, so you have to live in Miami-Dade County, because it is a county grant. So, well, you have to prove that you've been there. So if you don't live there, or if your studio is not in Miami-Dade County, you can't apply. Somebody else asked about the requirement to be lawful permanent resident. Does it include artists with valid visas to work as an artist in the USA? Yes, it includes that. I'll leave that one to you, Hansel. Can I apply with a theater play or performance?
I would say as long as you can demonstrate that this is a visual arts project, I would say yes, but also consider that theater plays are performing arts, and we are actually covering the Ellies. It's more destinated to visual artists. So as long as you can demonstrate that there's a visual component on your project, I would say yes. But just like a theater play without, I understand that theater is also visual, but it's considered performing arts. As long as you can demonstrate that there's like a visual component to it, it's okay. It's just the way you explain your application, or you explain your project.
And this could be in the collaboration
Yes.
part of the grant. So if you create the sets and then there's a performance, that could be part of
Exactly.
that would be accepted in the collaborative part of the grant.
Next question. Are there any specific subjects that I should avoid in my application or project?
Maggie, you want to take on that one?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Are there any specific subjects that I should avoid in my application or project?
No, I think you should propose what you feel is part of your practice. And because this, like I said, would be juried by an outside. Now, you have to think about something that's for the city, that's related to the city. Realize some parts of our Miami-Dade County have certain rules and regulations if you're putting up artwork. So take all that into account. But as far as what you want to propose, you can propose what you feel is correct for your practice.
Somebody asked, can someone apply for both grants? Yes, you can apply for creator and you can apply for teacher. And if you have different projects that you want to apply for, you have to create different applications. We do encourage you to only do 3, because it's, to do only 3, but sorry, Hansel, one last thing. If you're planning on applying and you can't see the option of doing that, the reason is you have to finish one application first before you start the second.
And you can also apply for a personal grant and a collaborative grant. You can be awarded both of those as long as you are, and let me explain the collaborative grant. If you're working with an artist from outside Miami on the collaborative grant, as long as you're 50% of what you're applying for, that's okay too. So let's say the person that said they're from Broward, if you're working on a collaborative grant from somebody that lives in Miami-Dade, and you're both equal parts in this application, that's okay.
And I want to expand on that too, because we are currently, we have all our programs receiving applications. So you can also apply to the cinematic arts and the studio residency.
Or living arts.
Or living arts, yeah.
I guess maybe I should say a little something about the Living Arts since it was brought up.
Yeah.
Living Arts is a new initiative that we've taken on where we're gonna be able to give out 8 live-in studio apartments where it's a live-in with your studio inside of the apartments off of Lincoln Road on Jefferson and Lincoln, and Oolite will cover 2/3 of the rent. So in other words, for $600 a month, you would get in an apartment on Lincoln Road. You would have access to all of the print shop and all amenities at Oolite because you're a block away, and you will have a year that you can live in these apartments. Your expenses would be $600 a month plus whatever you use in an electrical, but living on Lincoln Road for $600 a month is pretty special. So this year we were able to come up the money for 8 studio apartments, and we hope to grow this program through grants and donations and reaching out to the community so we can further help artists get started to be able to be in a great location and to be able to work within a studio.
Yes, great opportunity. And there will be an info session in the next coming weeks about that and the studio residency. So keep an eye on our website and our social so you can sign up for that in case you have any questions. There's another question says, receipts were not required for previous Ellies Award reporting. If I understand, receipts will be required for reporting for this new Ellies grant.
I don't think they will.
I don't know.
I think
No, he said for the teachers' travels grant they were, but for the regular other grants they're not.
it probably got confusing because we both said that we saved our receipts. It's not that we had to send our receipts, it's just that we saved them because when we had to do the Excel spreadsheet to explain the expenses that we had, the receipts came in handy. It's not that we had to turn in the receipts.
Didn't have correct.
Yeah.
It was
But yeah.
when we had to, for me personally, when I had to fill out the Excel sheet explaining my expenses, like kind of holding on to my receipts for my flight, different things like that. Having those receipts kind of made life a little bit easier filling out that Excel sheet.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 similar questions, Catalina. Next, someone is asking, what is the project is ongoing? Is it eligible? And there's someone else asking, what if you would need the grant for only a specific part of the project, post-production or distribution? I would say yes. We will be basically, if selected, they will be receiving the money for a finishing fund for a project. So yes, you can apply for a specific area of the project, and if the project is ongoing and you just need to finish your project, that's also eligible.
Thank you. I don't have 5 or more video samples to share for my film project. Can I still apply?
Yes. I would suggest to submit scenes of your work, for example. You can also submit I mean, this is specifically for film. So you can submit stills of your film. You can submit scenes from your short films or larger films. You can include there like 5 different types of work. So you can combine that in between either scenes or just a sizzle reel or stills of your projects. All that counts. So I'm sure you can find at least 5 pictures or videos to show in your application.
Yeah, I think you just answered the next question, which says, are short film scripts and pitch decks allowed for film project applications?
They can be included. I mean, they would make your application more consistent. Yes.
After Ellies winners have been selected, can jurors' names be posted on the website moving forward? Maggie?
After they're selected, yes. Yes, for the creative and for the teachers, yes, the jurors will name. We've asked them, we've asked them to participate, and if some of them don't want their names, they'll let us know. But so far, as far as the creative awards, yes.
Are there certain themes or topics that Oolite is particularly interested in engaging with? Not anything specific, just we want to see your creative mind. Are you permitted to use the Ellies Award to purchase equipment or software to produce the Ellies project? Yes, as long as you don't go over budget. But also, if your project is going to cost more than what we're giving you, there is a section in the budget line that specifies that you tell us where the other funding is coming from. And Hansel, we have one last question. Are animated short films allowed to be submitted for cinematic arts?
Well, I guess this is a question. I think it's also for the cinematic arts, but also for the Ellies. I'd say yes, of course. You can submit an animated. Well, actually, I'm going to follow the question. Are animated short films allowed to be submitted for cinematic arts? The answer is no, because it's a short film. For cinematic arts, we are receiving only feature films that can be narrative. But for the Ellies, yes, you can submit an animated short films. For the cinematic arts, you can submit a feature animated film. Was that clear? Or should I say it again?
Maybe explain it again.
Okay, so short films are not allowed for the cinematic arts. Animation, it is eligible for cinematic arts. Now, animated short films and feature films too, I'd say they are both eligible for the Ellies.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that makes a good distinction.
Mhm.
As you receive many applications, are there certain things you remember from an application that has jumped out to you, or best practices to keep in mind, and anything we should be aware of not to do? To be completely transparent, every juror rates all application, and so you know how our process works is we receive the applications, and the team, Oolite staff, we call it scrubbing. So we go through every single application, making sure the application is eligible. If it is not eligible, or if you're missing something, we get back to you and we give you a couple of days to fix it. If you don't fix it, we consider that you withdrew the application. After that, we send the applications to the jurors, and they have 5 weeks to review all applications, and they rate them. And then when we meet, the applications are already rated. So yes, we do get many applications, and I think I'm sure for each person, some things jump out in certain things, and maybe they rate it higher, but then in the discussion, those things are brought up when we meet for the jury session.
I would recommend not waiting till midnight, like Mark did, midnight at 11:59, the day they're due, because if there is something missing, or you need help with your line item budget, it gives us time to help you, complete your application. But if you turn it in on the very last day, we can't go back. And, it's past the due date. So I would at least give us some time to be able to go through it. And then we can always help you, complete it. But you've got to give us the time.
I also want to mention best practices to keep in mind. Something like Clara mentioned before. Be yourself. Be yourself, because I know when there's like juries in the middle of all this type of open calls and situations, we want to give the best of all, but the best of you, it's just yourself. There's another question for cinematic arts or Ellies. Are experimental films permitted for cinematic arts or just Ellies? For cinematic arts, the requirements, it's only narrative feature films. So as long as your film has a narrative, I would say it's okay. But it has to have like characters, beginning, middle, and end. If your experimental film respect those boundaries, that's okay. And as long as the viewers are okay with that application, I would say that's okay. However, I would recommend that experimental films are submitted throughout the Ellies versus the cinematic arts.
Thank you. How does the jury rating process work for the application? Are there certain areas they look at or prioritize, a rubric of sorts? So as I already said before, when the jurors review the applications that have been already scrubbed by us, there are certain questions that they have to answer, and then each question gives the applicant certain score. And then, at the end, it all adds up, and then the submittable organizes it from the highest to the lowest ranking.
And that's just the rating that they do through submittable, but they also have like a jury deliberation day where they meet and they discuss the applications and discuss all the applications and who the winner should be.
Yeah, so like, don't worry, like, oh, I'm not ranked the highest. Don't worry about it. We meet and the jurors have a discussion. Like, this was my top applicant, and then the other juror says, oh, but this was my top applicant, and so we discuss, we look over the works, and then they choose who the winners are. Can we submit to both Ellies and the artist residency application? Yes, you can submit to all of the open calls we have right now.
What information do jurors receive aside from the images and the project narratives? Do they receive bio, resume, names, etc.? The jurors will have access to the full application. So whatever it's in your application, the jurors will have access to it, and will rate your applications with that information.
Yeah, they'll see all the submittable that you filled out. Can you please share the questions that the juror has to answer when reviewing the application? Maggie?
Say it to me again. You broke up.
Can you please share the questions that the juror has to answer when reviewing the application?
Okay, so like the jurors will go through your applications. They would go through your ideas, and like both Hansel and Catalina said, they will rate it. There are going to be three very. First of all, let me explain that the juries, we've selected different juries for different areas. The faculty component will have their jurors. The cinematic arts will have their jurors, and the Ellies will have, their jury. And then the resident artists and live-in will have their jurors. So this way we can get a very diverse group, more specialized in the areas that you're going to be applying for, because we feel that's important. The jurors, as you know, three people, it's hard for three people to totally agree on everything. And that's what they were trying to explain. Once everybody has their top candidates, they will deliberate. Number 3 might be somebody's number 5 or somebody's number 2, but they will deliberate, and each juror will kind of sell why they feel that your work is who they thought was the top choice in their selection. And, and then within that, they will come to, not all will be 5, some might be 3, but they felt that somebody that maybe it wasn't as detailed, but they feel it could be a great idea that could be created. So each jurors will have their own stipulation. They will come in this blindly, and they will come in as a curator, as an artist, or as a teacher to deliberate and see what they think is best.
Yeah, and since we're talking to that, there's one more question that relates that says, do the jurors review the applications remotely on their own computer, or do they come to Oolite to review and vote in person?
Remotely.
They will do it remotely, and then they will meet. They will meet online to discuss the applications, and also expanding on the questions that the jurors use to review the applications. They basically have to review the applications having in mind artistic merit of the project, the conceptual depth, the feasibility, and how the budget that the applicant is proposing can be, like, this project can be done with that budget, the artistic vision of the project, impact and contribution to the community. For me, one of the most important questions, connection to Miami, and also the applicant, the need for the benefit of completing this project. Those are the basic questions that the jurors go through when reviewing your application.
How many jurors will review Ellies applications? So we have 3 for Creator Award and 3 for Teacher Travel Grant.
And 3 for the cinematic. 9 in total, but different areas.
Okay, I think that is our last question, and we're about to run out of time. So I just want to.
Oh,
yeah, one more. Can you send us the list of criteria for jurors reviewing?
we can give you criteria as to what Oolite, expects for the awards to have, but each juror will have. We can't dictate to the juror what their criteria is in during these applications.
Yeah, but we're running out of time. Last question is, when is the info session for the art residency application? It is, I believe it's next week, but keep an eye on our social and on our website for the exact date.
And also, if you have further questions, there's an email you can submit those questions, ellies@oolitearts.org.
And we'd be happy to help you with any applications or any further questions you might have.
Yes, feel free to call, feel free to email. We are really excited that this is happening, and we're here for the artist.
Thank you.
Thank you.